to you live. It is Monday, June 19th. It is Juneteenth. It's a federal holiday, but those of us at Students Life, we're busy, hard at work, and I want to talk to you about coming up this year shine at the Lincoln Memorial. Announced a couple of ago, the 48th Vice President of the United States, Mike Pence, will be joining us live on the steps of the Lincoln Memorial. So I hope you're there. If you can't make it to Washington, D.C., because I don't know why, make sure you sign up for the live stream at nationalcelebratelifeday.com. Make sure you click you're attending via live stream. This is the way you're going to get up to the minute information about if there's program changes or speakers or things like that, if there's rain. So make sure you sign up for the live stream. All right, the first thing I want to talk to you about is Juneteenth. Today's Juneteenth. I'm really excited about our kids. Obviously, as history buffs, my husband and I have told our kids a lot about Juneteenth and its significance. I had an op-ed published last week in Newsweek. It's called "A Year After Dobbs: Let's Change the Way We Talk About Abortion," and I think it's important. And I was thinking about that the specific op-ed today and the importance of Juneteenth, because I think on Juneteenth we remember the emancipation of enslaved people in the United States, but we have to remember that our work wasn't done when slaves in Galveston, who were the last to know they were free, were freed. We had a lot of work to do, right? We didn't have a black president, for a few short months after enslaved people were free. Nope, that took a very long time, right? It was 99 years from the end of the Civil War until the passage of the Civil Rights Act in 1963, for example. And I think it's important when we think about the anniversary of the Dobbs decision coming up this Saturday. There's going to be a lot of articles about what's happened in the past year when it comes to abortion in our country, that we can't expect complete cultural shift in a year, but we have seen a lot of progress, which obviously makes a lot of people mad. But we have seen a lot of progress made, especially in states like Wyoming and South Carolina, North Carolina, Nebraska, Florida, South Dakota, who've passed, laws. West Virginia have passed laws that completely prevent abortion or prevent abortion some point in the first trimester. We've seen a lot of success, and there's a lot of optimism that we have going into year two of a Roe versus Wade free America. But I think we have to be real about how we're talking about abortion. We once tried out like second class citizenship in our country, saying, you know, conception-based prejudice, that how you were conceived, what happened the night you were conceived, if your parents were married when you were conceived, it would determine whether or not you were a full person with rights and could inherit things like property or seek certain jobs. That didn't work. And so when we're talking about abortion, we're especially talking about in a lot of our legislative conversations about exceptions for children who are conceived in rape or incest. I think we need to now begin having this very important conversation about the second class citizenship that we're creating in our country, which we know hasn't worked and historically has always been wrong. That we've been saying for years that it's simply, well, if you're conceived in rape and incest, it's okay that you're killed, or that you can be killed via abortion, but it's not okay that other children can't be killed via abortion. This is a serious conversation I think we need to start having now, a year out from Dobbs. Now we can't expect all of our goals in the pro-life movement to be met one year, although I would love to see it. But there's an important conversation happening. We need to start having conversations about things that we see on college campuses a lot. When life is conceived, when does beginning of life actually happen? Because we're often told on college campuses that we're wrong when we say scientifically, we regurgitate scientifically accurate information that a new unique human life comes into existence at the moment of conception. And then folks will try to tell us, well, what about women who are using IUDs, or women who choose to take Plan B? Is that an abortion? We'll say, well, it's not a direct abortion, but it can end the life of a human being. It can be abortifacient. While the intention may not be the same, we need to have honest conversations with ourselves about what certain drugs and devices are doing to the most newly formed among us. And I can't help it that I can read. I can't help it that I passed high school biology and understand when human life begins. But now is the time for us to be honest and start having these more difficult conversations 1 year out. All right, I'm going to play for you a video that we found, our team found on TikTok. They sent it to me today. I watched it just briefly. Before I go to bed, I'm getting all hot and bothered over this video because it is just, this is reflective of the low level thinking that we often see in the pro life movement when it comes to those who are trying to make arguments in support of abortion. I'm going to play it for you and then I'll respond.
Why is that a far cry to compare forced organ donation to abortion?
I don't know why she's talking.
You can't cherry pick your ideologies here, okay? Would someone survive if someone gave them their organs? Yes. Would they die if you didn't? Yeah. Do we force anyone to give up a kidney? No. Why is that if it would save a life? Because no one can force you to do that with your body, parts with your body. 100% of pregnancies risk the mother's life. 100%. It irrevocably changes your body. It's life-threatening.
That's true.
100% of the pregnancies are life-threatening. Look it up.
Life-threatening.
100%.
Not life-threatening.
It's a perfect comparison.
No, it's not. False.
Be for real.
Okay, be real. Okay, let's be real. There is a fundamental difference between a relationship between you and a stranger that you may be asked to give up an organ for to sustain or prolong their life than you engaging in a behavior, sex, that has an interesting consequence in it, and that it can create a unique whole human life. There's a fundamental difference in the relationship between you and a stranger versus you and the child you've created, that child who is your offspring, that has your DNA. I think what we hear when we hear this type of argument comparing abortion to a denial of an organ, or denying, organ donation, is a denial of the fundamental difference, or what the actual relationship is between mother and child. That there's something that we all know and nature proves to us, and any little child can tell you on the street, that there's something very special that happens between mother and child versus mother and, or me and the random person on the street. And so I think that is actively different. Also, what's interesting when you think about that is abortion isn't just denying someone the part of your kidney or a part of your liver to continue to survive. Abortion is different than that. Abortion goes in and says, I don't want to share my womb with you anymore. I don't want you in my body. So I'm going to violently end your life. So that would be like, say your neighbor needed a kidney transplant and you had like the perfect match, and your neighbor came up to you and asked you, would you donate your other kidney to me? And you start to consider it, and you think, man, I would really like to do this, but however, I don't want to do it for whatever reason. Maybe you're concerned that maybe one day one of your children will need a kidney. So you tell your neighbor no, and your neighbor goes, okay, I may die now. Your neighbor might go on a search for another match. That would be one way to go about it. But if you're talking about abortion, what happens is you would say, no, Mr. Neighbor, I'm not going to give you my kidney, and here I'm going to stab you to death. Because that's what abortion is. It's a difference between saying, no, I'm not able to help you sustain your life, versus I'm going to actively pay someone, or do it myself, I guess, end your life, violently and cruelly end your life. That's completely different. So if this crazy TikToker wants to be real, let's get real about what abortion really is. All right, last article I want to talk to you about. I saw this today. Japan's first abortion pill has been legalized. It's coming from a country in Europe. This is really interesting. They are in a major population crisis in Japan. It's been widely reported they have a major population crisis. They are literally in a crisis. I don't know what they're thinking of trying to legalize and make there be more abortions in Japan. Like, that's not going to help your impending population bomb, like that you're not going to have enough people to continue the Japanese culture. This is a major problem. It's also ranked 116th in the gender gap. So, like, one thing for women, FYI, being able to kill your children doesn't make you equal to men. That's not going to help you with that gender gap there in Japan. So this is sad. This is going to mean tens of thousands, millions of more children will perish, will be starved to death, and will be killed in Japan. And it's certainly going to make the demographic crisis, the population crisis in Japan, a lot worse. And it's not going to help at all close this gender gap that Japanese women currently face. They're just being sold a bunch of lies that they need more pills that can put their life in danger to kill their child in order to be free. Okay, one last plug. This is internal plug. On my podcast, I don't know if you get my podcast on Spotify or iTunes, or if you're watching on YouTube. We're doing I think Saturday, we're combining some of the best of my news clips of the week of my pro-life Gen News / pro-life in your PJs. I haven't decided what I want to call this yet. I am in my PJs today, if you can't notice. We're doing a mashup of all of the biggest news clips of the week every Saturday, and we're putting them on my podcast. So you can, if you're on my podcast and you don't, like, I don't know, have something better to do at 10 o'clock at night, and you don't tune into the live stream, you can still get the latest news of what's going on. So make sure you subscribe to my podcast anywhere where you get your podcasts. And once again, make sure you sign up for the National Celebrate Life Day this Saturday, June 24th in Washington, D.C. I'll see you there.